Hare Krishna, dear devotees, my humble obeisances to you all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you all for joining His Holiness Chandramauli Maharaj's daily call, daily class. Today, Hare Krishna Maharaj, my humble obeisances to you, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj, are we continuing Srimad Bhagavatam today, or are we doing any different verse?
Yeah, Bhagavatam continued.
Yes, Maharaj. So today we are continuing with Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter number 18, verse number 3. 1 second, I'll share my screen. Maharaj, please take over. Thank you.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Usrajat Sarvata Sangam Vigyata Jita Samstitihi Vaya Sakir Jahoi Sishyo Gangayam Swam Kalevaram. Translation. Furthermore, after leaving all his associates, the king surrendered himself as a disciple of the son of Vyas, Sukadeva Goswami, and thus he was able to understand the actual position of the personality of Godhead, and at last gave up his material body on the banks of the Ganga. Purport. The word Ajita is significant here. The personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is known as Ajita, or unconquerable, and he is so in every respect. No one can know his actual position. He is unconquerable by knowledge also. We have heard about his Dham, or place, eternal Goloka Vrindavan. But there are many scholars who interpret this abode in different ways. By the grace of the spiritual master like Sukadeva Goswami, unto whom the king gave himself up as the most humble disciple, one is able to understand the actual position of the Lord, his eternal abode, and his transcendental paraphernalia in that Dham, or abode. Knowing the transcendental position of the Lord and the transcendental method by which one can approach that transcendental Dham, the king was confident about his ultimate destination. And by knowing this, he could leave aside everything material, even his own body, without any difficulty or attachment. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is stated, Param Drisva Nivartante. One can give up all connection with material attachment when one is able to see the supreme or the superior quality of things. From Bhagavad Gita, we understand the quality of the Lord's energy that is superior to the material quality of energy. And by the grace of the bona fide spiritual master like Sukadeva Goswami, it is quite possible to know everything in the superior energy of the Lord, by which the Lord manifests his eternal name, quality, pastimes, paraphernalia, and very goodness. Unless one thoroughly understands the superior and eternal energy of the Lord, it is not possible to leave the material energy. However, one may theoretically speculate on the true nature of the absolute truth. By the grace of Lord Krishna Maharaj, Parikshit was able to receive the mercy of such a personality as Sukadeva Goswami, and thus he was able to know the actual position of the unconquerable Lord. It is difficult to find, very difficult to find the Lord from the Vedic literatures, but it's very easy to know him by the mercy of liberated devotees like Sukadeva Goswami. Omagyan Timirandasya Gyanajana Salakaya Chaksun Militamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasnaya Bhutale Srimakti Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaudavani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sunyavari Pastyatya Desatarine Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. So you'll just have to excuse me for a second, and I'll be back in about a minute or two. Sorry about the delay. So here, we get a little insight of what it means to reach perfection. The living entity and the Lord are qualitatively the same. And sometimes the living entity becomes so powerful, he mistakenly thinks that he's the supreme. The living entity is very powerful because he's pure spiritual energy. But his power is subdued or checked or minimized because of the association of the material energy. And the Lord is the supreme power within existence and the supreme source of all power and existence. And he is never covered by the material energy, so his power is never checked. Although both the living entity and the supreme are of the same quality, because of the marginal nature of the living entity's existence in this material world, the living entity doesn't actually know who he is, what his power is capable of, or what he is capable in terms of who he actually is, a pure spirit soul. And therefore, the living entity undergoes so much tribulation and illusion based on false identification with his real identity. But the Lord is never subjected to these anomalies of the material energy. he is both the controller of the material energy and at the same time free from any influence. Just like when we try to control something, we also become influenced by the effort to control. It is like if a person tries to control a vehicle, then they have to submit themselves to the rules of driving. So they also become, when we say controlled, by a set of laws at the same time that they are trying to control. But the Lord is never under the influence any controlling power, because he is the supreme control. So the word transcendental is mentioned here many times. It's mentioned so many times throughout. Knowing the transcendental position of the Lord and the transcendental method by which one can approach that transcendental Dham. Transcendental simply means above the dental. Dental refers to material. And so transcendental means above the three modes of material nature. And knowledge can also transcend to that level of existence. But that knowledge can never fully know the Supreme Lord. But if one knows Krishna to a certain understanding, what is that knowledge that is required for the living entity to ultimately free himself from the entanglement of the material energy and ultimately attain his position as pure spiritual being? And that is, one has to know that that living entity is completely controlled either by the material energy or by the spiritual energy. So giving up the control of the spiritual energy means to take up the control, being controlled by the spiritual energy, which is the Daivi Shakti. And that means putting oneself under the control of the Supreme Lord through his various paraprakritis or spiritual energy. And as one understands that through the process of rendering service, so that identity has to be done through the mode of service. Service to the Supreme is the feature by which the living entity transcends service to the material or entanglement in the material. Because in the material, anything one performs, whether they speak it or perform it, they become controlled by that same energy that they are connected with. Just like people, to use a very crude example, people like to smoke cigarettes. But so they're smoking cigarettes and they're trying to get some enjoyment, but they're controlled by the cigarette. The cigarette becomes their chain, and they're more or less forced or addicted to submit to the desire of trying to enjoy under the influence of being controlled at the same time in a very difficult situation. So that's material life. And there's no control without being controlled at the same time in material. But one can be free from all control when one is under the influence of the spiritual energy, which is above all features of control. But that type of control is liberating or freeing. It allows one to experience oneself as a pure spiritual being who is of the same nature of God and has an eternal loving relationship with God through the process of devotional service. It says here the king was confident of his ultimate destination because he had fully surrendered himself unto the disciple of or the son of Vyas, Sukadev Goswami. So this is somewhat contrary to the principle of material life, that when you surrender yourself to someone, you become free. But it's a fact too. In one sense, it also works in the material sense. Like if you surrender yourself to the laws of the state, then you become free to take the benefits that the state give you. And if you go against that, then you put under another form of control, which is called the jailhouse. So when we surrender ourselves to Krishna by engaging in his loving devotional service, we elevate our consciousness above the three modes, and we actually experience gradually, because it's a gradual process. It's just like when you go to jail, to use another example, when you go to jail, say you're sentenced to jail for 6 years for whatever crime. And then as the days go by, you're coming closer and closer to getting out. Each day is bringing you closer to the day where you'll be freed from the jail. So when we surrender ourselves to Krishna and engage in devotional service, as time moves us along, we're becoming more and more free from the entanglement of the material energy. It's sometimes in what's the word? I'm trying to think of that word. It's not even, we're unaware. Sometimes we think, am I making any progress in devotional service? If you're following the process and you're steadily engaged in devotional service, whether you know it or not, you are. The actual process works in such a way that is gradual. And then you can see, you can use measurements. Sometimes you can see yourself, where were you last year at this time in your activities of devotional service and your consciousness that you had at that time. And you can see how you are, what we say, making progress. It becomes perceptible. It becomes imperceptible sometime by day to day, but over a period of time, it becomes more and more perceptible. And then there are times where it becomes very perceptible when there is a boost in spiritual energy that comes by way of one's devotional practice. And that is the special mercy of the Lord. And when that comes, then there is a clear understanding of how one is not really governed by the laws of material nature. Just like when you're engaged in kirtan, for instance. I use an example. There's a group of kirtaniers. They're not part of our movement, but they're kirtaniers in India. They dance in a defiant way. They put their hands on their hips and they dance like that. And they look at the ground at the same time, challenging the material energy that please try to touch me. So it's a kind of an attitude of, all right, I'm in kirtan and you can't touch me no matter what you do. And that's true. For instance, when you're in the kirtan, then and you're absorbed in the chanting, you are completely above the three modes of material nature, and you're actually experiencing transcendental happiness to whatever degree that you are absorbed in that kirtan. So kirtan is one of the, what we say, power-packed activities in devotional service that elevates your consciousness quickly and immediately. So that's why it says that Bhakti Siddhanta says, those who take part in the kirtan of the Lord, only they can understand the process of devotional service. Well, kirtan is very important because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually came to give us Harinam Sankirtan. San has two meanings. We use the word kirtan. Kirtan comes from the etymological root word meaning kirti. Sometimes we name a girl Kirti. Kirti means fame. That's the actual translation into English language. But kirtan really means to spread the fame of the all-famous Lord. That's what it means. And it also has a second meaning, that those who engage in kirtan also become famous in the eyes of the Lord. The Lord sees that anyone who engages in his kirtan becomes very dear to him, because in his mood as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is the primary incarnation in this age, is Krishna himself. He came to give kirtan, and he was always engaged in kirtan. Most of his pastimes with his devotees were centered around kirtan. And he was always in the mood of dancing in the kirtan. You rarely find any examples of him leading a kirtan and singing, although he did sing, but not in a formal way with his devotees. He always let his devotees, who were expert, many of them were expert kirtaniers, sing, and they would take him into the mood of ecstasy by their bhakti. And he would just absorb himself in dancing. And sometimes his dancing would be so absorbent that he would lose consciousness and just collapse to the ground. And then they would have to revive him, and then he would come back and start dancing again. There's one particular pastime where he was dancing with his devotees, and the kirtan was going on for hours and hours and hours. And then Govinda, one of Lord Chaitanya's personal associate, Govinda also happened to be a godbrother of Lord Chaitanya. He was also a disciple of Ishwara Puri. So he said, my dear Lord, you can go on forever, but the devotees are getting tired. So I think it's time for you to stop the kirtan. So the Lord immediately responded. And then the Lord also felt tired when he stopped. So he went to his room. But he was so tired when he came to his room, he couldn't even enter into the room, that he just sat in the doorway. And he put his legs in the doorway, and he leaned against the side of the door. Now, his servant, what was it? What was his name? He was Shankar Pandit, or Shankar Pandit's brother. Can't remember. He came to massage the legs of the Lord, and he would do that regularly. But when he saw the Lord sitting in the doorway, the only way he could do his service was he had to walk over the Lord. And so he said to the Lord Chaitanya, can you move your legs aside so I can get in and massage your legs? The Lord just said, too tired to move. And then he was wondering, how am I going to do my service? And the Lord is not moving. So he asked again. And the Lord again responded that he wasn't going to move. So then for the third time, and then the Lord looked at him and said, do what your mind tells you to do. And so he walked over the Lord, which we know is an offense. It's actually an offense on all levels, just like maybe devotees are not aware of this. But if you step over the body of another devotee, any part of his body, whether it's his legs or anything, that's an offense to that person. Because the soul is in the body, and you're stepping over that soul like that. So that's a form of an offense. So he knew that, but he did it anyway because he had to do his service. And he massaged the Lord's legs, and he put the Lord to sleep by his massage, and Lord Chaitanya fell asleep. After about 45 minutes, Lord Chaitanya woke up and he looked at him and he said, "You're still here. Why don't you go and take your lunch?" And then he said, "Well, how can I leave? You're blocking the doorway." And then the Lord said, "Well, how did you get in?" And then he remained quiet. He didn't respond. And then the understanding was given by, for your service, I can make some mistake if it's for your service. But for my own personal enjoyment, sense gratification, I can't do that. So he taught a nice lesson by this particular pastime, that the devotees sometimes have to go outside of the boundary in order to do their service. They try not to, but sometimes it happens. But for their own sake, they will never go out of any kind of proper etiquette and boundary in the behavior of their activities. That was a nice example. So Lord Chaitanya would always engage in kirtan. And the word san means together, but san has a second meaning, which is not so much known. San also means complete. So when one does sankirtan, it means that there's no more complete way to glorify the Lord than through the process of kirtan. So there's many ways to glorify the Lord. And we worship the Lord in different ways. We do various types of yagyas, homas, and various types of sacrifices, rituals, prayers, but nothing reaches the quality of bhakti that Harinam Sankirtan. The Harinam Sankirtan is the best of all ways to glorify the Lord. And therefore the scriptures continually glorify the process of Nam Sankirtan as being the highest. There's a beautiful verse, I think in the, I think it's in the 17th chapter, or maybe no, it's in the 7th chapter, the 7th chapter of Adi Leela, verse number 74. Maybe you can find that verse. I hope I'm right, because it's a very powerful verse. Adi Leela 774. Yeah. Yeah. Nama vino kali kale nahi ardharn, sarva mantra saranama e shastramarm. In this age of Kali, there is no religious principle other than the chanting of the holy name, which is the essence of all Vedic hymns. This is the purport of all scriptures. The principles of the Parampara system was strictly honored in previous ages, Shatya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga. But in the present age, Kali Yuga, people neglect the importance of the Shrauta Parampara, receiving knowledge by disciplic succession. And so it goes on to explain that not knowing this, the Lord himself, who is identical for his name, and it says here, the holy name is completely different from any material sound. Golokera, Plamadana, Harinam Sankirtan. The transcendental vibration of Harinam Sankirtan is imported from the spiritual world. Thus, although materialists who are addicted to experimental knowledge and the so-called scientific method cannot place their faith in chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, it is a fact that simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra offenselessly, one can be freed from all subtle and gross material conditions. And it goes on to glorify. This whole section of this chapter is all about the glories of the holy name. So if you go back to the early days of Krishna consciousness, when Prabhupada first started the movement, how did he begin? Well, how did Krishna consciousness spread so fast? It was by Harinam Sankirtan. If you have an opportunity to see some of the old Back to Godhead magazines, you'll see practically every one of them. There were pictures of devotees in different cities around the world doing Harinam Sankirtan. And Prabhupada sent devotees to different places to start Krishna consciousness simply by Harinam Sankirtan. And because of that, people came, and gradually temples came, and then more devotees came, and then the society started to spread. So it was Harinam Sankirtan that spread the movement. It is Harinam Sankirtan that keeps the movement strong spiritually, powerfully, and it protects all of those who performs Harinam Sankirtan from the material energy, and it gives the higher taste, that higher taste. So this is Lord Chaitanya's special mercy that he's brought this program from the spiritual world. Golokera Premadan, so that means it's coming from that area of Goloka, that it is non-different from the activities of the spiritual world. I remember when I was in New Vrindavan, I was living in a brahmachari ashram for many years, and we would have to traverse a path going through the woods to get to the brahmachari ashram. It was 2 miles within the woods, and we were going over streams and up hills. And at one place there was a tree with a big sign on it that said that, and I would always remember this sign. The devotees put the sign up. It said, in the spiritual world, all talking is singing, all walking is dancing, and the constant sound is Krishna's flute. So this is what Krishna consciousness is about. It's about chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And if we do japa, that's nice, it's important, and it's required. But we should regularly take part in kirtan also, because kirtan and japa are 2 aspects of the same energy which support each other. Both are effective in purifying the heart and destroying the contaminations of Kali. In our retreat coming up in Italy, we'll be speaking on the 8 prayers of Lord Chaitanya, which is known as Shikshastakam. And those 8 prayers are the embodiment of the entire Mahamantra. Each one of those prayers are synonymous with a couplet of the holy name. The first prayer is Hare Krishna, the second prayer is Hare Krishna, third prayer is Krishna Krishna, fourth prayer is Hare Hare, and all the way through until Rama Hare Hare at the end. So the holy name is the foundation, and especially kirtan. And those who get a taste for kirtan, they lose their taste for everything else. All they want to do is kirtan all the time. There are devotees like that. They simply live for kirtan and they travel around. But it's nice to do regular service alongside of kirtan, because that keeps one humble. That keeps one humble. When one offers service to the Lord, then one develops those qualities of humility. And then when you chant the holy names of the Lord, then it's no longer just a powerful sound vibration. It takes your consciousness to the highest form of spiritual happiness. So this is the benefit here. So one who engages regularly in this Harinam Sankirtan can know the transcendental position of the Lord, as is mentioned in today's verse. To know that transcendental position means to glorify the Lord in Harinam Sankirtan. Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much. Such a wonderful class. Thank you so much. Dear devotees, any questions or comments or realizations, you can please go ahead now. Please turn on your cameras if possible. Thank you. Maharaj, thank you so much for reminding us about Harinam Sankirtan and about the pastime of Lord Chaitanya. Thank you so much. And you were saying about identity must be through the mode of service. Can you please little elaborate on that particular aspect, Maharaj?
Yeah, Jiver Surupai Krishna Nitya Das. And this verse spoken by Lord Chaitanya, which is mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita, means that all living entities are the eternal servant of the Supreme Lord. So unless we engage in our occupation, how will we understand our identity? You can't simply theoretically read books and then expect to understand your identity through philosophical knowledge. You can get some understanding, but through the process of service, you purify your consciousness and you also develop those qualities that are conducive to chanting of the holy names of the Lord, such as humility, tolerance, pridelessness, and respect for other living entities. All of these qualities are mentioned in Lord Chaitanya, glorified out of the 6 Shastakam prayers. He put a lot of emphasis on the 3rd verse, Trinadapi Sunichena, Tayori Vasahishnuna, Amanina Mamanidena, Kirtaniya Sadarahi. Sada means always. So one who can practice these qualities and develop them through the practice can chant the holy names continuously without any sensation. This is the characteristic of the holy name, that these qualities develop through the process of rendering service to the spiritual master, to the devoted, to the Vaishnavas, which is all connected to service to the Lord. Yeah. Well, we have to take every opportunity to serve.
Yes, Maharaj. Yeah. Thank you, Maharaj.
Everyone's silent today.
Yes, Maharaj. Dear devotees, you can raise your hand or type it in the chat window.
This is Moni Baba today. Right? Well, Moni Babas. After I talked about Harinam Sankirtan, we all became Moni Babas. Huh? Ask a question. You can always think of a question if you, or just make a comment based on your own experience in Krishna consciousness. Speaking about your own experiences in Krishna consciousness is inspirational for others.
Maharaj, I was thinking like yesterday's class also you were discussing about the compassion towards the other, towards your neighbors or towards other people, where we share Krishna consciousness, we try to share. So sometimes as grihasthas, we are so much occupied in our own things like kids, classes, all these things. Sometimes we forget to share things with others. So suddenly like reminders when you give class or when you speak, that it will be like a great reminder for us. So how to develop, like even Sridevi Mataji was encouraging other day, like talk about Krishna openly, share Krishna consciousness. But the thing is, we are so much occupied in sometimes in mind doesn't work. So how to develop this quality, Maharaj, constantly, like immediately grabbing the opportunity to share Krishna consciousness?
Before I answer your question, or try to answer it, have you lived in India for any long period of time?
Myself?
Yeah.
Yes, Maharaj, about 27 years.
Yeah, so you always had time there. Life was easy. Still, you had kids, you had family, but when a sadhu would come, and then thousands of people would come to hear them, everybody had time to go and hear the sadhus or take part in the spiritual activities. So now we're in the Western world where everything is so, what we say, absorbing, to use a very nice word. We've complicated our lifestyle because we're forced to accept this somewhat complication by the lifestyle we live. So it takes some effort to get around that and find the quality time we need to practice Krishna consciousness. If we, I mean, we have to be, I don't know what you might say, an expert plan maker, but we should keep a schedule, and the schedule should have quality time for all of our responsibilities, including our main responsibility, which is our sadhana. So, yeah, it's not like every day is going to be the same, but we should try to be as regulated as we can. That way we can maximize the time that is available for us to take care of our personal needs and also to. And I notice nowadays kids are so much pampered by their parents. Parents, I just let the kids grow up, let them learn on their own. You don't have to take care of them so much. They know how to take care of themselves. When I was growing up, I didn't want my parents to take care of me. I did everything myself. So nowadays, the kids, they want, the parents are like the supreme personality of resources, that whatever they want, they come to the parents. Give me this, give me that, give me this, give me that. Can you do this? Can you help me in this way? So I think the kids are spoiled nowadays. This is what I see, at least from my experiences. And the parents think they have to be the parent until the kid dies, So, that's the problem too. So give them some guidance, some direction, and let them make a few mistakes in life, not serious, so they can learn what life is about.
Yes, Maharaj.
Yeah, we spend too much time in the domestic aspect of raising family, and then it just, we don't have any time for other things.
Yes, Maharaj, got it. Thank you so much.
I'm sorry I answered your question a little differently.
Yes, Maharaj, no problem. It's a reminder for me. Thank you. The elder one is he's becoming independent now. He's going to college. The youngest one is the one who has to give little attention to her. But I'm just waiting for her to be going to college soon so that I'll be free.
Maybe. You can be free if you wanted to be free, but
Yes, Maharaj, I want to be free.
good.
I'm waiting for that.
Good for you.
Sukha Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to assembled devotees. Thank you so much for this class. My question is totally different, if you don't mind me asking. I was asked this question, so I just wanted the answer, if possible, please. Okay, is it all right? We were talking about Bhagavad Gita 2.44 verse. Bhogeshwara prasaktanam taya paratichetasam vyavasayatmika buddhi samadhona vidhiyate. So in that verse, Guru Maharaj, it says samadhi means fixed mind. And one of the person asked me that up till now, we have seen how samadhi means, like Srila Prabhupada's samadhi in Mayapur. So it is something built after the
Word
soul.
not samadhi, it's samadao. Samadao. But hiyate. It's not that's not the word samadhi, it's a different word.
Oh, because in the purport it says samadhi means fixed mind.
Oh, and the purport. Okay, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, samadhi means the mind is absorbed, yeah, fixed. Not on material things, but on spiritual. On the spiritual.
I said it's totally different things to that samadhi is not this samadhi.
Well, the word is somewhat used loosely in different ways. Actually, samadhi has a time period to it. That if you are absorbed in spiritual consciousness for 2 hours and 44 minutes, you have reached samadhi.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's mentioned. There's actually a time calculation which describes the different levels of the Eightfold Mystic System, which is the Astanga Yoga, where you got Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi, absorption, meditation, and complete absorption. So they also have what they call it time calculations that indicate a person has achieved that level.
Yeah, that's good to know that.
Yeah, but samadhi means absorption. That's all. In the spiritual, there's no such thing as samadhi in the material. That word doesn't apply to material. So what is the question? Is there a question connected here?
Yeah, so when they installed Srila Prabhupada's murti in the Mayapur, saying that this is the samadhi for Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah.
Basically, so they said that what is the difference? Why that one is called samadhi as well?
Yeah, when a great soul leaves, they take samadhi. So, and they enter into the spiritual energy.
So there are two different meaning for that word samadhi, isn't it? Then in that case,
slightly different, yeah. When they leave the body, they enter samadhi. That means
they're fixed in the spiritual world anyway.
They don't die. They just enter into that state of absorption on the Supreme, and they could be in different realms of existence, but they're in that consciousness. Pure devotee goes back to Godhead. That's another way of saying they've taken, samadhi. And then you have Samadhi Mandir also.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Kumar.
Thank you, Mataji. Sridevi Mataji.
I think she's gone somewhere.
Yeah. Dear devotees, any questions or comments? Please go ahead.
So Sridevi went to take samadhi.
Mataji, you can ask her.
Thank you. Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to your holiness. I wanted to just share a very simple thing about Harinam Sankirtan, which I love. I wanted to share that's the only time I am happy. Only time. We come out of Sankirtan, back again to my contaminated self.
Good, good, good. I see that in you too. When you're in that, you're like in another world.
Yes.
And you're good at inspiring others, bringing them into that same energy. We got some service for you when you come to Italy.
Begging for scraps of mercy, Guru Maharaj, that you will throw to this dog. I am very grateful for every scrap.
Well, we'll throw you some scraps of pizza. Okay.
Oh, I love that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yeah, chat and take part in kirtan, and then you'll understand this process. Shakshi.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for emphasizing on the importance of Harinam Sankirtan. My question is, what should be the proper mood during Kirtan?
To glorify the Lord. You're offering when you in kirtan you listen very carefully to the person singing. You absorb yourself in the sound vibration, not just let it somehow pick up within the atmosphere, but you actually hear nicely. Connect yourself with the sound through the hearing process. And then when you respond back by chanting, then that has great effect. So the hearing process is the foundation by which the chanting process develops more and more. So it's all about hearing and chanting. So as you hear, you chant, and as you chant, you continue to hear, and it just continues to spiral upward, higher and higher levels of experience. It's all based on hearing.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. I have another question, if I may ask.
Mm-hmm.
Maharaj, you were talking about surrendering to Krishna. So similar to that, from this different aspect, I wanted to know what all are the factors or the check balances to consider before putting our faith in surrendering to an authority.
Well, Sanatana Goswami, first of all, you have to surrender to an authority. An authority is one who is in a position to give leadership, to guide others. So that usually is a person who has been given that position because of their qualifications. Could be a spiritual master, or might also be a temple president or a yatra leader, like that. And so you follow the instructions and you execute the service accordingly, like that. So obedience is the principle of discipleship. The word disciple comes from the word discipline. There's no disciple without discipline, and discipline means obedience. Obedience to higher authority. So when we follow the authority, we are actually developing our relationship with the Lord through the process of obedience to our, what we say, designated authorities. Temple president or the yatra leader or the temple commander is the representative of the spiritual master when the spiritual master is not personally present. That's in the attitude of service. In the attitude of service. Spiritual master is not always there to tell you what service to do, but he designates his his responsible devotees to take the position and guide others in their service. And then there's practical understanding also. If you want to do a particular type of service, you can ask to do that. But ultimately, you have to follow whatever instructions are given in terms of executing the service. So, service is what connects you. Service should be done in the mood of gratitude that I have an opportunity to serve and be grateful for that. We like to serve anyway, but we have been conditioned to serve in the material way for thousands and countless lifetimes. So we can't get away from the service attitude because it's part of our existence. But now we have to take that service attitude and direct it towards Krishna. And then it becomes perfect. And it becomes elevating to the consciousness. And it brings one to the platform of peace and happiness. We refuse to accept service from the material energy.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. That was really helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Balaji Prabhu, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and assembled devotees. Maharaj, I have a question on the chanting. I have heard that, while chanting, we have to clearly hear, Hare Krishna Mahamantra. But is it okay to also focus on the lotus feet of the Lord, while chanting, Guru Maharaj?
Prabhupada makes a comment. You can turn to it in the lotus feet of the Lord and the holy name are actually non-different because they both represent full surrender unto the Lord. But to visualize the lotus feet will come as one starts to hear nicely. And then these thoughts of the form of the Lord or his lotus feet will manifest through the process of careful hearing. So there's a nice verse, Srimati, it's 4th canto, 8th chapter, verse number 53, in the purport at the very end. 4.8.53. It's a question that devotees ask all the time. And I think, depending on one's level of spiritual practice, it has slightly different understanding. But Prabhupada gives a general understanding in this verse here. 4.8.53. Go down to the very end of the purport. Here, you want to read that? Someone read.
Which part, Maharaj? The whole paragraph, last paragraph?
Last paragraph.
Yeah. Another point established in this verse is that meditation should be carried on with the chanting of a mantra. Chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra is the easiest process of meditation in this age. As soon as one chants the Hare Krishna mantra, he sees the forms of Krishna, Rama, and their energies, and that is the perfect stage of trance. One should not artificially try to see the form of the Lord while chanting Hare Krishna. But when the chanting is performed offenselessly, the Lord will automatically reveal himself to the viewer of the view of the chanter. Therefore, the chanter has to concentrate on hearing the vibration, and without extra endeavor on his part, the Lord will automatically appear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that kind of answers the question. Try to
Yes,
hear nicely. And if you're actually hearing nicely, the Lord will appear in your mind in one form or another. But if you
Thank
try
you
to,
very much, Maharaj. That
yeah,
answers.
that's the key. Really work on hearing. That's the key to good chanting.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Thank you very much, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Yes, ma'am. Scarlett Mataji is asking, is Samadhi a place of worship?
Hmm. Hmm. I'm not sure. I think we gave the understanding. Samadhi is an absorption on the Lord. There's Samadhi Mandir. There are places that are considered to be a place where the pure devotee is now encased after his disappearance in the world. That's called Samadhi Mandir. But yeah, you can say it's absorption. The word Samadhi means full absorption on the spiritual energy for an extended period of time. And then there is eternal Samadhi, where the great souls leave the body and enter into the spiritual energy fully. I think we covered that in different ways.
Yes, Maharaj. Yeah. Thank you so much. Dear devotees, any questions or comments? Or you can share your realizations or any questions from the previous classes. Prema Bhakti Prabhu? You unmuted yourself.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, all glory to Srila Prabhupada, all glory to devotees. Maharaj, must confess that
Can you please be little louder, Prabhuji?
Maharaj, it's hard to say it, but Maharaj, I'm just a crybaby. Krishna, how do I get over this?
I just keep crying. It's good. Cry your way back to Godhead.
When I listen to kirtans as well, Maharaj, it brings tears to my eyes sometimes, and it really get
Good.
so emotional sometimes.
It says that Krishna likes to steal butter. And so when the butter is hard, it's not so easy to take use of the butter. So when the butter is soft, and then the butter is nice. So when you make your heart soft, then Krishna will steal it. So those who have a soft heart, they can cry real easy.
Yeah, I find that I cry too much, though, Maharaj, sometimes, and I mean, even when I'm in these classes, Maharaj, so I don't turn my cameras on because I get so emotional just listening to you, listening to devotees, and just being around devotees as well, serving them, everything. I just
teach other people how to cry too. It's good. But not falsely.
no, it's definitely from the heart, Maharaj.
No, I'm not saying you, but some people, there are a class of people who like to cry, but they like to make a show out of it. But there's others who actually, when it comes naturally, it's bhakti. It should be accepted that way, naturally.
And just getting to your point where you mentioned about, your kids, I cry with my daughter and I leave her and like I said, I let them experience life, and then I try to guide them the best I can.
Well, you have to cry for Krishna, not just cry. You should be crying that, my dear Lord, I'm in this material world, I'm suffering without you.
Exactly, Maharaj.
Please take me back to your lotus feet. Those tears that come by way of that are the actual means to go back to Godhead. It's called lauyam. Desire to experience Krishna.
Mhm.
You can't go back to Godhead unless you get to that point of Layam either. That Raghunath Das Goswami explain in his prayers, he says he looks around and he sees everything in the world and it all looks very void. There's nothing to it. So when you look at your wife or you look at your husband, you look at your kids, you look at your money, you look at your computer, you look at your car, and you think, what's the use of all this? I don't even want any of it. Then you're on your way back home.
Yes, Maharaj, that's how I feel sometimes. That's how I feel. Plus, we don't just want to go back to Krishna and
But
serve him.
it's not something artificial. It comes by the practice of bhakti.
Mhm.
Okay, so
Thank you, Maharaj. That was just my experience.
thank you for
Thank
speaking.
you.
Thank you.
Okay,
you.
so maybe
Yes,
we
Maharaj.
can stop here.
Yes, Maharaj. Yeah. Thank you so much, dear devotees. Thank you, Maharaj, for such a wonderful class. Maharaj, I don't have details about tomorrow's class.
Oh, tomorrow? Tomorrow I'll be online tomorrow. I'm here. I can do the class, but
You said that there is an African devotees class.
oh, the African devotee class. No, that's next Thursday. That's not this
Next
Thursday.
Thursday, not this Thursday.
This Thursday is Harrisburg, right?
Actually, Shamakari Mataji was asking like this Thursday's class to move to Friday for only this week. Yeah, this Friday.
Friday, yeah.
You are traveling, you said.
No, not this week. That's the next week.
Oh, okay. Maybe I got mistaken. Yeah.
I think I got the schedule mixed up also. I'm available Thursday and Friday this week. So
Okay, great, Maharaj. Then shall I inform Shamakari Mataji
for
that you will
tomorrow?
for Friday?
Friday.
She had a mistake with another speaker, so that's why she booked her or some other speaker on Thursday. So that's why she was requesting
I'm
to change.
sorry, I get mixed up with my dates because I get bombarded with requests from different programs, some online, some in the local area. And I'm trying to, I have to keep looking at my schedule every day to make sure what's going on. So it's my deficiency. Somehow I can't organize everything clearly. You have to keep reminding me.
Yes, Maharaj, sure. So then we'll fix this Friday. Tomorrow we'll have a regular class, and Friday we'll have Bhakti Sangha class, Maharaj.
Yeah, so Friday we can do Bhakti Sangha.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank
Okay.
you, dear devotees. Hare Krishna. We'll all see you tomorrow. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Candramauli Maharaj ki jai. Thank you so much, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for today's class. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.